Hey, what's going on, guys? Doom here, and this is my part 3 for my in-depth Trapcode form tutorials. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, there'll be annotations on the screen right now. They open in new tabs. This video will pause. You can come back to it later. Make sure you watch part 1 and part 2, otherwise you'll be kind of lost. I'm kind of just giving you a step-by-step look at how I made this kind of intro with Trapcode form. I went over how to just use the basics of Trapcode form, and then I've kind of shown how to make the form multiple colors and how to get some flares in here and how to add shine and all that and kind of how to get this look. So we're going to kind of go over audio, react, and camera movement in this one. So let's jump right into it. Alright, so we still have our Trapcode form here. I have it all multicolored. I took the shine off. It's still right here. I just toggled it off. And I just did that just so you could see it a little better why we did this. I'm going to go ahead. I haven't really messed with this. I'm going to go ahead and go down to fractal field, and I'm going to turn down the flow evolution to, let's just say 15. That'll work. I'm going to up this to, say, 140. Good enough. So we'll leave that at that for now. Alright, what you're going to want to do is you're going to go for audio react. You're going to obviously need a song of some sort. So hey, what's going on, guys? Doom here, and this is my part 3 for my in-depth Trapcode form tutorials. If you haven't seen part 1 or part 2, there'll be annotations on the screen. Make sure to watch them first. They open in new tabs, and this video will automatically pause. You can come back to it afterwards. Make sure and watch those because this is kind of a step-by-step look at how I made this intro right here with Trapcode form. I showed how to just use the basics of form, and then I went over how to kind of make the form multicolored and get flares in there, and how to make it kind of glow and shine like this. So definitely watch. You'll notice kind of right there. You'll notice, I'll just let it play for a second. You'll notice it's synced with the audio and everything like that. So I'm going to show you how to do that now, and how to do some camera movements and stuff like that. So let's get right into this. Alright, so I still have my form. It's just it's still multicolored. It still has shine on it. I just toggled it off so you could see it a little better while I did this tutorial. And I messed with the speed of the flow of it, like I showed you in the last tutorial. Let's first work with audio react. I guess will be a good place to start. So let's go ahead and get a song in here. I'll link the song that I use in the description, as well as the image I used for that multicolored back there. Just so if you want to kind of mimic what I'm doing, just to give you an idea how to do it, you can do that. Let's go ahead and get a song in here. We have our song. You can hear it playing. And if you don't know how to hear audio in After Effects without RAM previewing, all you do is you hold Command on Mac or Control, I believe, on PC. And you can just scrub through your timeline. It'll play audio. If you don't know how to bring up a waveform, you just double tap L on your keyboard, and there you'll see the waveform. So you can see every beat and everything like that. So how to get your formed audio react is you go ahead and you just select your form layer. You go to Effect. And there's my form right there. You're going to see audio react right here. You're going to bring that, click that drop down arrow. You're going to see audio layer none, and then you're going to see 5 reactors. On this audio layer, you're going to select it, and you're going to select your song. So there we go. We've selected my song, and I'm just going to go here to reactor 1, and everything's going to be set to default, and the map to is going to be off. Now what the map to is you can set the form to react in different ways to the audio. So you could make it react in particle size. Let's go right here on this beat. So you'll notice it gets really bright, and that's because the size is growing and it makes it really bright. You could change it to particle opacity. You could change it to fractal. It's usually one I like. So every time it kind of hits a beat, it'll expand like that. You know, that's the one I like to do. You could do a lot of stuff. You could do disperse, and there's some other stuff you can mess with. I really only mess with particle size, fractal, and disperse, but you know, go ahead and mess around, do whatever you want with it. I'm not saying you have to do anything like me. I'm just kind of showing you what I like to do. So on audio reactor 1, I'm going to map it to fractal. So now every time it hits a beat, it's going to grow like that. I'm going to drop this down to half. I may be able to RAM preview a little bit here for you. And I'll kind of show you how to map a couple different audios. So here you go. So you notice it's not perfect, but every time it hits one of these beats, it's jumping. I should be able to go down here to the fractal field and mess with this a little more. I'm going to expand it so it's kind of always like that. Let's not do that. You can mess with this. I'm kind of cut for time, so usually I would mess with this for quite a while to get it the way I like it. But I'm just going to leave it like this for now, just for tutorial sake. So you can mess with the strength of this. So we're right here on a beat. We have it synced, so every time on these beats it grows and then it shrinks back down. So you can make this really, you can make the strength go up really high and kind of do some funky things like this. You notice it kind of does some weird stuff, which is pretty cool. If you want something like that, by all means do it. If you want, the default is 100. You could do it so it barely does anything, you know, so it does like just a little bit of jumping, so it's just bam, just a little bit. I'm just going to leave it on 100. You can mess with the frequency. So the frequency is what beats you want it to jump to on the song. So if you want it to jump to different beats, go ahead and mess around with the frequency. You can change it up and down. You'll see it's changing more. And just kind of mess with these numbers until you get something you like. I'm going to leave it at default just for time's sake. But go ahead and mess around with that. You can get it to sync to different beats that you want to. So I have my reactor 1, and it's reacting to the fractal. It's mapping to the fractal. I'm actually going to turn down the strength just a little bit. There we go. And so reactor 1, I'm good with it. I'm just going to leave everything default. I'm just going to close that. Now I'm going to go down to reactor 2, and I'm going to map it to the particle size. So you notice, or you remember before, it got really bright. So I'm just going to bring this down. Let's see, 20 looks good. It kind of gets brighter and expands. And then when you turn your shine back on, like I had before, let me turn that down a little bit. The ray length, we'll go to 2. That looks good. And yeah, we'll leave it on just so you can see it better. So now you'll notice that when it's hitting those beats, it's moving the shine and everything with it. Sorry, I'm just upping this a little bit. There we go. We'll go ahead and RAM preview this for a second. So you'll notice we're getting kind of the desired look. It's not exactly like the Intangible 3 trailer, but you get the point. So there you go. You'll see it syncing to the audio pretty well. Everything looks good, and we're just gonna leave it at that. You know, go ahead and mess around with that and get it however you want. It'll look better with some songs. It'll look worse with others. This song's not amazing for it, but it looks okay. So now for camera movements. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off this shine again, just for viewing purposes. To work with cameras in After Effects is kind of difficult in my opinion. I've worked with it quite a bit, not a ton. I wouldn't say I'm like very good at it at all. I would say I'm pretty basic, but I've worked with it for quite a while, and I can tell you some of the basics on how to use it. So what you're going to want to do is you're just going to go to Layer, New Camera, and you can change it to whatever you want. I'm just going to work with a 28mm. I think the default's 35. I'll just leave it on 35. I believe that's the default, so I don't really care. You'll notice it changed a little bit, no big deal. Now, what you could do is you go to the beginning here, I'm just going to leave that, doesn't really matter. So you can go to the beginning, you can select your camera, and if you go ahead and you hit C on your keyboard, you'll get the camera tool where you can move it around and everything like that, and you can look at it, you can kind of get behind it and everything. And you can also, down here in the camera, you can bring open the transform, so that when you move it around you can actually see the numbers moving and kind of get an idea of how much you're actually moving it. Every time you hit C on your keyboard, you're going to get a different camera option. So if you can go up here and you can click and hold, and you'll get a few options for camera. You'll get orbit, track YZ, or YZ, XY, and you'll get track Z. And or you can just hit C on your keyboard, it'll toggle through those. You can see it toggling through them right now. So this is just your typical camera. This is your orbit, where you can orbit around it. This is your track XY, I believe, where you can move it left and right, up and down. And then the last one would be your Z, which is just going to move it. It's going to move it in Z space, which is pretty much just 3D space, so you could put it way back there, whatever you want. So what you could do is you could keyframe position, and you could go a couple frames ahead, and you know, you could make it zoom in. You'll notice it's not doing anything. That's the problem with this. You can make it orbit around, move whatever, like this, and now you'll notice it's updated a little bit. So now you'll see it kind of is back here, and then it comes forward and kind of goes around. But you'll notice how it wasn't updating when I was working with it, and that's kind of the problem with working with cameras in After Effects. It's a pain in the ass. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to delete these keyframes. Oop. Actually, hold on one second. I'm just going to undo all that. Well, not that far. Alright, so we have our camera. What you're going to want to do is you're going to create a new null object, and you're going to get this little red box right here. And what you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to hit P on the null object to bring up the, or actually you're going to want to make it 3D, and you're going to see the, if you don't have this little 3D option, you can hit toggle switches and modes, and it'll bring that up. And you'll see the position right here. You can change it all you want. You'll see that the null object's getting bigger, smaller. You can move it around. It's not doing anything. But what we're going to do is we're going to parent this camera to the null object for movement. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to go down to the camera, and you're going to first want to make the position of the camera the same as the position of the null. So you'll see 960 and 540 are exactly the same, but this is on 0 and this is on, well, whatever random number yours is on. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to set that to 0, and it's going to zoom in way in on the particles. You can see how big they've gotten now. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to pick whip this right here, and you're just going to drag that to null, or you can go down here and you can select null 1. I'm just going to pick whip it over. You'll notice this changed to null 1 now. So now me moving the null object will actually move the Trapcode form for me. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to zoom back. If you want to make this faster, you can hold shift and it'll make it go a little faster for you. So now I've zoomed back out. I can see the whole thing, and you'll notice that me moving the null object moves the Trapcode form for me now, and it actually updates in real time. You don't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning. I'm going to keyframe my position. I'm going to go 2 seconds ahead, and I'm just going to go ahead and let's see. We'll zoom in a little bit. I don't know what we want to do here. So I'm having it kind of fail on me right now too, and this is the problem I always have with working with cameras in After Effects. And maybe if you guys know how to work with it a little better than I do, then by all means tell me, because obviously I don't have very good luck with working with cameras and null objects. It never seems to update for me. I don't know if it's a problem just with me or what the problem is exactly. What you can do though is you can go and I'm just going to copy that number, and I know this is 960 and 540. It's right, I can see it on the camera if I want to and whatever. So I can fidget with it, move it however I want. I could rotate it, you know, whatever you want to do. Move it up a little bit, whatever. I just have it like that, and then go ahead and keyframe it. Go back to the beginning. I'm just going to paste that number I had before. This is 540. This is 960. This is 0. This is 0. So now it's back to the beginning. You'll notice it moves. It looks like shit though. I'm just going to go ahead and watch it real quick. So you notice it moving and everything. The camera movements I did for the Valentine's Day duel took me forever. It actually took me like 3 days of doing that. So obviously I'm not great with working with cameras and After Effects. Like I said, very basic. You kind of get the idea of how to do everything, but all in all I'm pretty terrible at doing it. Like I said, if you guys have any tips for me, feel free to let me know, because I'm not great at doing it. I'm actually going to delete this null. I'm not going to parent this to anything. And it's freaking out, and I hate working with cameras. So you don't have to work with cameras to make it. Like on the Intangible 3, I'm going to try to salvage this since my cameras weren't working very well. It also might have to do with the camera that you're using. I noticed that using different millimeters of cameras changed everything, obviously, so you can go in and mess with that. I'm just going to delete my camera for now. You don't have to use cameras to make this look good, you know. I didn't use a camera on the Intangible 3 trailer. I didn't use a camera on the intro to the Azo Alliance dualtage that we did. What I actually did is I just I applied a new adjustment layer, and I went in and I just messed around with some stuff, you know. I just did random things, like I applied an optical compensation, and I reversed the lens distortion. I just upped this field of view and made it kind of suck out at me like this. So you'll notice it's kind of, the edges are brought out at you. And then what I did was I just keyframed this, and I went and I brought it back down so it kind of looked like it was sucking to the middle. So you can mess around with this. Like I said, you don't have to use cameras to make Trapcode form look good. You can do all sorts of different stuff to mess around with them and get them to look good. Just go in and apply random effects and mess around with random stuff. You can get some pretty cool some pretty cool stuff. You'll notice there I applied like a wave warp type thing. You could mess with how much. So, you know, just messing around with it. You can do a lot of cool stuff. See, a lot of cool effects you can get just going in and messing it with some random effects. Like I just applied that and did that in a couple seconds, and in my opinion that looks pretty cool. So I'm sorry my camera movements didn't work out that well, but honestly the camera movements aren't the most important part. You know, you can always do a lot of other things with it. You can go and add, you know, some text to it or whatever. My text always does this for some reason. I hate After Effects CX6. It's a pain in my ass, but let's see here. We'll just put it on a decent font. There we go. Let's help that up. So good enough. I'm not going to worry about centering it really. But you can apply text and put a glow on it, and maybe a shine, and you can put that on. Well, you could leave it like that if you wanted to. I mean, it kind of depends on what you want to do. Or you could put it on normal, and you'll still see your text at all times, and you still get a real nice effect. You see the shine moving around, and you can go in and mess with the colors like I showed you before. You can use some of these presets or whatever, you know. Like I said, just mess around with it. You'll get some pretty cool effects. And I think I'll wrap this up here. It's pretty much concludes my entire series of the in-depth Trapcode forum. Hopefully I helped you guys. I know I at least showed you how I use cameras. I know it didn't really work out for me. I'm sorry about that. I actually contemplated redoing this entire tutorial, but you know what? Who cares? That's the way After Effects is. It's not always the way you want it to be. So, you know, go in and mess with it, and you know, just this alone looks pretty cool in my opinion. You know, just adding audio react and putting some glow and shine on it, which I have my shine off right now. But you know, just doing stuff like this is really cool. And another thing is you could change the transfer mode of shine to different things. You get some different effects. It's kind of hard to see here, but yeah, you can't really. Doesn't really work that well here. Sometimes it'll work out really cool and look cool. So just mess around with it, do whatever you want. I'm just going to leave mine on normal. You can change the shine opacity, how much of it comes through, the source opacity. So you can do some cool stuff, you know, just mess around with it. But you know how to make a pretty cool intro at this point. You could just put a text over it and you know just kind of do what I did. You can watch my intros and stuff to kind of see how I do it. I'm not really huge on motion graphics, you know. I just think that forms are a really cool plugin. I like messing around with it. So I'll wrap this up now so it doesn't drag on too long. Make sure and follow me on Twitter, links in the description, and leave me suggestions in the comments on what my next tutorial should be. I know I have a few, but always leave me suggestions so I know what I can do next. And make sure and comment. I reply to pretty much every comment. And yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. So I'm out. Peace.